Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to be walking through the installation of VMware and GNS3. I've already gone ahead and downloaded the files I need from the link, and I've got VMware Workstation Full, the GNS3 VM file, and the GNS3 application. So let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and start, double click the installer, and I'm getting a window up here just asking me if I want to allow the app to make changes to my device. I'm going to click yes, and then VMware Workstation Pro installation wizard is going to start for me. Sometimes this is going to start behind Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize everything on my desktop to make sure that this installation wizard down here does indeed pop up on my desktop. We'll give it a second. Here it is, and I've got the setup wizard. I just got to wait a second, and eventually I'll be able to click next, and I'll accept the license agreement. And I'll go ahead and click next to add it to my path. And I don't know if I want to join the customer experience improvement plan, so I'll click no to that. Doesn't really matter for that one. And I will uncheck product support updates. There is actually a newer version of VMware. It does not work on my laptop. It works on my desktop, but not my laptop. So I'm going to use version 17 for this. Doesn't really matter which one you use for what we're doing. And then I'll go ahead and go through the setup process. I'm going to pause the recording while this goes through. It's going to take a couple of minutes. And then once we get this done, we'll go through the rest of it. Okay, I finished the installation process, and as you can see, it's just asking me to finish the install. And I indeed do have a desktop shortcut for VMware Workstation. So let me finish, and then we'll get started. So it's finished. I'm going to start VMware Workstation Pro now. Okay, so now that I've got VMware Workstation up and running, I'm going to go ahead and open the virtual machine. And the virtual machine I'm going to open is in my downloads folder, the GNS3 Net Plus. And I'll go ahead and open it. It's going to ask me to name it. I'll just name this GNS3. You can name it anything you'd like. And we will wait a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording while it imports this GNS3 VM. So the GNS3 VM has successfully imported. The next thing I'm going to go do is go ahead and start the VM. So let's click power on this virtual machine, and I'll pause the recording for a second because it's going to take a minute for this thing to power up for me. So the GNS3 VM did successfully start, and I've got this IP address here, 192.168.129. One way I can really check and make sure it's working right is I can go to my web browser, and I'll just go ahead here, and I've got that address already typed in. So I'll go ahead and go to that web page. If I get this web page up, I know indeed that I do have GNS3, the VM portion of it running at least. I don't really like this interface. I prefer to use the application. So let's move on to installing the GNS3 application. Okay, so now that I've got the GNS3 VM successfully running, I'm going to go ahead and install the GNS3 application. This is really just an interface to help make it easier for me to tell the virtual router switches, host devices, what I'm going to do. You'll see when it gets installed. So I've gone ahead and started the install. I'm going to go ahead and minimize any other windows to make sure. There it is. The setup wizard is hiding behind other windows. So I'll just go ahead and minimize all of my windows and then click next, agree to the license agreement, and I will choose all of the default options, and then I'll pause the recording for a minute while this goes ahead and completes the installation process. Okay, so now that I've got GNS3 running, the next step I need to do is point GNS3 to the VM. So let me go ahead and click OK for this window. It's saying it can't connect to the GNS3 server. That's to be expected. We haven't told it the IP address of that VM. So let's go into our preferences, and I might have to wait a couple of minutes for it to time out of trying to connect to that server. So I'll go ahead and pause the recording until this finishes. Okay, so it said it can't connect. That's fine. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'll tell it how to connect. So I'm going to go into my edit menu and then preferences, and I will go and I want to check the GNS3 VM, make sure that is unchecked. And then for the server, I'm going to enable, I do not want to enable the local server. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in that IP address, 192.168.80.129. And just to remind you, that's the IP address that the VM is using right there. So let's bring this up again, and I want to change the port from 3080 to 80. And then I'll click apply and OK. And now it's going to attempt to connect. And give it a second, and it looks like it's connected. I see the main server, And if I go over here, I can indeed see the devices available for GNS3.